As you all know, the mental conditioning coach, Paddy Upton, joined the dressing room of the Indian team during the West Indies T20 International Series. Now, it has to be said that Paddy Upton has worked with Rahul Dravid before, but more importantly, he's spoken to us at cricket.com previously on a range of topics. Here's the best of them, just to give you an insight of Upton and how he operates.
On the morning of the Asia Cup final, 10 months before the World Cup final, we were preparing to play Sri Lanka in Sri Lanka. And the question that Gary Kirsten asked was, if this is the World Cup final, are we ready as a team to go out and win? And the answer between Gary and myself and Eric Simons, the bowling coach, was there. All of us answered no. We don't think we are ready right now to win a World Cup final. And the question then was, okay, so what do we need to do in the next 10 months to prepare the team? And the conversation that followed from there really laid the foundation for what are all the things we need to do. And one of the things we needed to consider was the fact that no team had won a World Cup at home up until then, and on home soil. And the thinking was because of the amount of home pressure on that home team. And when we extrapolated that, it was very clear that playing a final in Mumbai at the Wankhede Stadium, which is one of the noisiest stadiums in the world, in Sachin Tendulkar's last World Cup game, there would be no higher pressure moment than any of those players have ever played under or will play under in the rest of their lives, probably. So we had to prepare for the highest pressure situation that any player would have played under. Well, that 2nd of April was set up. Every single team meeting and conversation, we would start everyone when we play the final in Mumbai or when we play the final on the 2nd of April, so that by the time we got to that place, it had been in players' minds over and over and over. So in going into that final, we probably experienced less pressure than probably most teams have experienced going into a final, because we were so mentally prepared for that moment. And that's half the battle is won if you can arrive at a moment that big and not be overwhelmed by the magnitude of the situation. So I would say a fair degree of winning that game had already been done before we arrived.
The biggest and most prevalent trigger at the moment is social media, and particularly stories about things going wrong and things might go wrong in the future. Videos about conspiracy theories, anything that points to the problems that we're having now and the problems that we're going to have in the future. That real focus on negativity and problems. If you spend enough time consuming that, you will end up feeling anxiety, stress, fear. You will end up being caught in the trappings of that, and it will, if you don't come out of it, stop doing that fairly soon, it will lead, or it's got a very good chance of leading to depression. So the single biggest trigger is the amount of negative media and information that you're consuming or that's running around in your brain. But I do recall there's two players that really stand out for me. That's Rahul Dravid and Kane Williamson. And both of them, I was a fitness trainer with the South African cricket team from 1996, and Rahul Dravid had just made the international cricket team around in the mid-1990s, and then their first tours to South Africa. He picked up the phone to me as the fitness trainer of the South African cricket team, and he said, and there was no such thing as a fitness trainer in world cricket at the time. South Africa was the first, and Rahul phoned me in my hotel room and said, I would very much like to buy you a cup of coffee, please, in the hotel, and I've got a few questions for you. And we met in the hotel room. It was the first time I'd met a young Rahul Dravid, and he had so many really good questions about getting fit, managing his body, taking himself to a new level of professionalism. And then some years later, when I was with the Indian team, and Kane Williamson came on his first tour, and I watched him talking to Dravid, I watched him talking to Laxman and Tendulkar after a test match. And that evening he phoned me in my room and said, can I have a cup of coffee with you tomorrow? And like what Dravid did, a young Kane Williamson came to me with some really good questions about how can he take his game forward. And what I really learned from those two is if you want to learn and fast track your learning, seek somebody out who knows stuff and have the courage to approach them and ask them some really good questions. And what you do there is you will accelerate your learning. And it was no surprise to me when I saw how how quickly Rahul adjusted his game at international level, and how someone like Kane Williamson, who's not the most flamboyant batsman, nor was Dravid the most flamboyant batsman, but they're two people who are incredibly professional and incredibly consistent, because they leave no stone unturned in furthering their learning about themselves and their game.
As you heard, he has lots of insights and lots of methods about the way he works. Let's see how it all transpires for Team India in due course. Thanks for watching this cricket.com video. More to come. Until the next time, subscribe, like and share this video as much as possible.